Hello, I am Vaibhav Agarwal and I am currently studying in BITS Pilani Goa campus. In this presentation, I'll be talking about a billion-dollar enterprise that goes by the name of Intuit. So, what is Intuit? What does it do? Where is it based? Intuit is an American software company that develops financial and tax preparation softwares and related services for small and medium business, also known as SMB. It also does this for accountants and individuals. The idea of Intuit was conceived by Scott Cook, whose prior work at Procter and Gamble helped him realize that personal computers would replace paper and pencil-based personal accounting. On his quest to find a programmer, he ended up running into Tom Prolux at Stanford, and together they formed a billion-dollar enterprise called as Intuit in 1983. Intuit has its headquarters set in Mount View, California. Apart from that, the company also maintains a number of foreign offices, including a research and development office in Canada and also Intuit India, headquartered in Bengaluru, India. It employs 8,200 people all over the world. So, this slide shows some of Intuit's products. TurboMax, by using which anyone can easily prepare and file tax returns, that too online. QuickBooks, by using which anyone can track sales and expenses, accept payments, and also it helps you get ready for tax time. Intuit Health, Intuit Mint, and Intuit Quicken are some of the products of Intuit. Intuit Quicken is Intuit's complete financial solution with 256-bit encryption security. Today, Intuit has more than $4 billion in annual revenue and a market capitalization of more than $20 billion. As I earlier mentioned, it employs a workforce of 8,200 employees and has also been ranked in Fortune's top 100 best companies to work for the past several years. Not just one, two, for the past several years. So now, as I've given you a good introduction about Intuit and some of its products, let's talk about the SWOT analysis of Intuit, or the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that Intuit faces. So let's start our SWOT analysis by talking about Intuit's strengths. Intuit is one of the providers of personal finance, accounting, and consumer tax software for customers, including small and medium businesses and financial institutions. Intuit makes substantial investments in research and development. The company intends to focus its future research and development efforts on enhancing existing products and services and on developing new products and services to address the customer needs in existing and new markets. So, the research and development goes into identifying the needs of the customer, and based on this research, the results of this research, the product is developed. So, the main focus in Intuit is on the customer, and by doing so much research on its customers and so much expenditure on its research and development, Intuit has managed to gain loyal customers. So it also expects to continue its focus on significant research and development efforts on many projects to modernize the existing as well as new products that it's thinking of developing. Um Intuit as a company has diversified its revenue base. So it's pretty common as a company to diversify your revenue base, because if a company has a diversified revenue base, it reduces the business risk and enables the company to generate incremental revenue. So Intuit has managed to get payrolls and payments from various professional tax, financial institutions, and other businesses. So the focus on small and medium level businesses has played a good role in the growth of Intuit as a company because of the diversification. So now that we have taken a look at Intuit's strengths as a company, now let's move towards its weaknesses. So the first one is the inability of the company to expand in geographical markets. As Intuit normally operates and generates most of its revenue from the United States. On the other hand, the company's competitors like ADP and Sage Group have diversified their operation and spread across other countries. ADP has presence in the United States, Europe, Canada, and Asia Pacific, whereas Sage has presence in the United States, Europe, and in other several parts of the world. So, by not able to expand to new markets, to new geographical markets, Intuit has somewhere lost an edge because normally consumers try to uh, go towards companies that have been there for a long period of time, that have been established in the particular market for a long period of time. And as Intuit is not has not expanded to certain geographical markets where Sage and ADP already have, it may have a risk. It may have a risk to lose those particular customers. Secondly, earlier I mentioned that the main strength of Intuit was so much of the investment that goes into research and development. Now, this strength can very well turn out to be their biggest weakness because uh, the increase in research and development expenditure is reducing the revenue that's gained by the company substantially. So that's another weakness by Intuit's parts. Uh, Also, the inability of Intuit to maintain online systems and services. Intuit's web-based tax preparation services and electronic filing services handles extremely heavy customer load during peak tax seasons from normally January to April. In the peak volume service times, it becomes difficult for the company to maintain adequate service levels. It has been reported that the company failed to maintain its service levels in the peak tax season of 2007. So if these glitches continue, many customers may actually try out, may actually leave Intuit and move on to other competitors like ADP and Sage Group. So that's another weakness from Intuit. So that is all for the weakness part of the company. Now let's take a look at the opportunities of Intuit. Healthcare solutions of Intuit is its greatest assets. Intuit has embarked on a strategy to solve the problem of managing the complex web of administrators and taxations that take place between healthcare providers, the insurers, and the consumers. With an annual consumer out of pocket spending of $350 billion and a complicated network of providers and insurers, an increasing amount of decision making responsibility is shifting to the customers or the consumers. Intuit has created a new market to help consumers and administrators address the problem of personal healthcare management. The company sees it as an opportunity to leverage this untapped services, which has so far been neglected by most of its competitors. Also, Intuit focuses mainly on small and medium businesses. Intuit estimates that 60% of small to medium level businesses still use manual accounting methods like spreadsheets, online bank accounts, etc. So, there is a room for continued penetration in these untapped markets. So, that is all for the opportunities that Intuit has. Now, let's move on to the threat that Intuit faces. Uh, One of the biggest threat that Intuit faces is dependence on few distribution channels. The company outsources the manufacturing and distribution of many of its desktop software products to a small number of third-party providers. Uh, it also uses a single vendor to distribute its business forms, supplies, and products. So by being dependent on a few distribution channels is quite a threat because if that distributor fails, the entire system goes down. Secondly, is the intense competition. As I earlier mentioned, Intuit is facing a lot of competition from ADP Group and Sage Group. So it has to cope up with a lot of competition. And thirdly is the rise of low-cost web-based alternatives. Uh, Due to so much of these low-cost alternatives that are present on the web, it might affect the pricing strategy of the company. Uh, it might turn out that Intuit lowers the cost of its products and services, so as to compete with these alternatives that are being offered at quite a low price. So that was all from the SWOT analysis part of my presentation. Moving forward, in this section, I'll be elaborating on Intuit's use of customer research and why did it do so well for the company. So, talking about the marketing strategy that Intuit employs, Intuit spends a significant amount of time and money on consumer research every year, and they've stated that it's critical for Intuit to know exactly how consumers feel and use the products. This is necessary because of the nature and pace of technology, the shifting customer needs, and the competitiveness of the industry. Apart from that, Intuit has also started to use site visits, lab studies, and remote studies to keep in pace with the consumer. Without this spend on research, Intuit might not have kept up with these changes. This slide shows a marketing event that Intuit launched, known as Small Business Big Challenge event. Uh, Intuit used their 30 seconds ad slot to offer one business the chance of a lifetime. An advertisement in the Super Bowl 50, which is a very popular event in America. Uh, Before going into it, before deciding to actually organize this event, a lot of customer research went in, and they were inspired by the success of Doritos Crash, the Super Bowl contest, which was earlier held, the last Super Bowl, and seeing the success that Doritos had, Intuit also wanted to plunge into it. So Intuit created their own competition to help turn a nobody into a great success. Intuit prides itself on providing services to small business persons. They create tax preparation software like TurboMax and financial softwares such as Quicken and QuickBooks, all of which are indispensable to countless of small and medium businesses in America and all over the world. But as I earlier mentioned, their main focus, uh, the main base of revenue is from the United States. They carried out this campaign in the Super Bowl, and this campaign got quite a good response. A staggering 15,000 small businesses entered this competition, which was kicked off in the spring of 2015. And the winner of this competition is the company Death Wish Coffee Company, which promotes its products by saying that they have the strongest coffee in the entire world. So, in this event, in this marketing campaign of Intuit, the consumer research that Intuit has done is totally evident. So, over the period of time, the marketing strategies of Intuit have evolved, but the most effective marketing tool for the company are still positive word of mouth, exceptional customer care service, and user-friendly software. Intuit has also recently started doing digital media exercises with its increasing presence on social media websites such as Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. This marketing strategy that Intuit has employed has worked so well for the company because Intuit understands what the customer wants, what are the needs, and it strives to improve the product according to the information that they have received from the customer. So they actually it's a type of a feedback mechanism that Intuit employs in order to understand what customer wants, and therefore they imply this strategy and this mechanism onto uh, their marketing. This slide shows an event that Intuit conducted in Singapore. As I had earlier mentioned, QuickBooks, one of Intuit's products, is the world's number one online accounting software, and it is also a main sponsor for Aston Villa Football Club. Aston Villa Football Club is a Premier League club, Premier League, which is the main football competition in England. Uh, so, in association with QuickBooks, it had launched an event which is known as Small Business Big Success Competition. And the winner of this competition will be the first Singapore based small to medium business that will enjoy Premier League advertising coverage. It was potentially a game changing way for them to reach new customers both in Singapore and worldwide. The reason that Intuit chose Singapore is because Singapore is a bustling global hub of startups. This competition was held to celebrate small business success and encourage Singapore's and entrepreneurs to share what they have learned. This city has a huge concentration of inspiration and practical knowledge for entrepreneurs. So this slide shows another campaign, an advertisement campaign that was organized by Intuit. Goes by the name of Small Business Big Success Competition. It was held in Singapore. QuickBooks, which is one of Intuit's products, is the world's number one online accounting software provider, and it's also the main sponsor of Aston Villa Football Club, which is a prominent team in the English Premier League. Uh, the best competition football in England. The winner of this competition will be the first Singapore based small to medium business that will enjoy Premier League advertising coverage. This was potentially a game changing way for them to reach out to new consumers both in Singapore and all around the globe. So, the reason that they chose Singapore was because Singapore is a bustling global hub for startups, and the competition was held to celebrate small business success and to encourage Singapore's future entrepreneurs and present ones to share what they have learned. So, this was also a huge success. So, for Intuit, building customer value, customer satisfaction, and customer loyalty are the most important functions that their customer research has to carry out. Creating loyal customers is at the heart of their business. According to Intuit's spokesperson, uh, the only value that Intuit will ever create is the value that comes from its customers, the ones they have now and the ones they will have in the future. Business succeeded by getting, keeping, and growing customers. Customers are the reason that you build factories, you hire employees, schedule meetings, or engage in any business activity. Without customers, you don't have a business. So, identifying the customer's needs and wants is center of business or marketing strategy for Intuit. So Intuit are so committed to their consumer research that they send a research team that personally visits the consumers' homes and offices and study how they react to the products and what all improvements can be made. So Intuit, by doing so, have a personal touch with the consumer, which has gone a long way for the company to create loyal customers. So this is all from the marketing strategy side of Intuit. So after completing the marketing strategy of Intuit, now we look on to the rivalry that was between Microsoft and Intuit. So let's get on with it. The uneasy relationship between Intuit and Microsoft can be traced back to at least 1990s when Intuit discussed collaborations on a finance program for Windows with Microsoft. But Microsoft instructed Intuit against it and decided not to develop a Windows program with Intuit. By 1991, Microsoft produced a competitor to Quicken called as Microsoft Money. So, in response to Microsoft Money, Intuit started dealing it as a competition, and in order to win retailers' loyalty, Intuit included a $15 rebate coupon that was redeemable on software purchases by the customer. So, this was the first time a software company offered a rebate. Intuit's strategy of including a $15 rebate coupon seemed to be paying off, and Therefore, despite very strong competition and a price war with Microsoft, Intuit managed to hold shares and increase its market share. Microsoft offered money at a price that was widely thought as loss making in its attempt to buy back the market share that it had lost to Intuit. Uh, the several unsuccessful attempts, and Microsoft then tried to buy out Intuit for a sum of $2.3 billion. But the buyout fell through because United States Department of Justice disapproved the merger. Uh, After that, the company Intuit came under intense pressure from Microsoft when it vigorously started promoting its Microsoft money against Intuit's Quicken. As the merger between Intuit and Microsoft had fallen through, Microsoft had been instructed to pay a termination fee of around $43 million to Intuit. After that, Intuit came under intense pressure from Microsoft during the late 1990s. But despite all the pressure, Intuit managed to held its high and came out with 65% of the market share. This was possible only because Intuit had launched new web-based products and solutions, and it started putting more emphasis on QuickBooks and TurboMax. It also acquired still a large stake in a software company that produced tax preparation softwares by the name of Excite. Due to losses and many other issues, on August 2008, Microsoft announced that it would stop releasing new version of Money, and it had no version of Money planned for the year 2009. Uh, on June 10, 2009, Microsoft announced that it would stop developing Money, and the sale of Microsoft Money would stop entirely by the end of Jan 2011. Microsoft cited the changing needs of the marketplace as the reason for Money's demise, stating that demand for a comprehensive personal finance tool set had declined. So now that Intuit has successfully beaten out Microsoft in the market, could anything go wrong for it? Let's find out. I think that Intuit has two scenarios after Microsoft leaving the market. One is a positive one, and other is a negative one. In the positive scenario, Intuit becomes the leader in its field with most market share. Currently, it has a 65% share of the market, and to achieve a monopoly, the company needs to continue what it has done until now, that is, being leaders, innovators, and using its strategy of investment in research with customers. And if it continues this practices and processes for the next 10 years, Intuit can definitely form a monopoly in the industry. However, there is also a negative scenario for Intuit. If the company reduces or removes the research funding and research efforts, they could end up in the same way as Microsoft Money ended. Because competitors are temporary, but competition is permanent. Also, Intuit should not misuse the stronghold that it currently holds in the market and increase the prices of its products. Uh, if they do so, they'll give an opening to competitors that are offering their products at low prices. So, according to me, Intuit shouldn't change their strategy. They should continue to follow the same strategy they have been following up till now. Uh, they have defeated Microsoft using this strategy, and if they carry out, they'll be the leaders in the market. So that was all for Microsoft versus Intuit, the battle of the two heavy giants. So moving to the final question, which is how should Intuit gauge results of its research among younger consumers with mobile devices? According to me, Intuit has already started taking dramatic and substantial steps engaging younger consumers. Their increasing presence on social networking sites such as Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn has made it possible for them to reach out to more possible younger consumers. They have also started to identify bloggers to write and share blogs, and then classified each blog post according to its velocity, share of voice, voice quality, and sentiment of the blog. These are groundbreaking classification. Understanding and interpreting this data is key to gauge the research of younger consumers. Intuit has also started expanding its mobile solutions. Uh, all the products like QuickBooks, TurboMax have their mobile versions coming out so that it appeals to the younger generations. Also, as I earlier mentioned, classification of blogs, posts according to sentiments and quality of the blog is some of the steps that are taken by Intuit to reach among the younger consumers with mobile devices. So now let's take a look back at the various steps that Intuit took that proved out to be instrumental in Intuit's success. Firstly, the aggressive customer research. Uh, I don't think Intuit would be anywhere near the success that it is currently tasting without aggressive customer research. Secondly, is products designed keeping the consumer in mind. This is nothing but a byproduct of the aggressive customer research that Intuit carries out. Thirdly, high expenditure on research and development. All the data that they have received, all the feedback that they have gathered from their customers is eventually put out put out into something tangible by having modifications in their products. Focus on small and medium level enterprises. The focus on of Intuit on SMB, small and medium level enterprises, is instrumental in the success, and by targeting on these markets, they have tapped a substantial number of firms that were still using pen and paper modes of accounting. Also, Intuit manages to keep a personal touch with many of these enterprises, uh, which comes under the aggressive customer research. As I earlier said, that Intuit has a research team that personally goes to the consumers' offices and homes in order to research and in order to have feedback, to gain a feedback about the products. And this has a nice personal touch to it, which goes a long way in creating loyal customers. This is a presentation which was created by me, Vaibhav Agarwal, during an internship by Professor Samir Mathur from IIM Lucknow. So with this, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much.